How's everybody doing? You know, I want to talk to you about Static Grass, but I want to tell you that I'm having so much fun with this piece and it's going so fast, like together so fast, that I thought, I should videotape some of this because there might be some good content here to share and inspire to other modelers. And I'll also say that this has been a real palate cleanser from the big 1/16 super intense, exhausting diorama Juno, as you know by now probably, that I built. These small dioramas are quite addicting. They're almost like vignettes, but that's for another discussion. That what's the difference between a diorama and a vignette, especially when you start sizing down. It's not usually size really that determines it. It's more about composition and subject matter. But the subject matter for this particular episode, I want to talk about static grass. And for those of you that don't know about it, I just want to mention that this is probably the single most revolutionary product that has happened in the last decade or more for model railroads and dioramas is static grass. Why is that? Well, you can virtually do any shade of grass and with all different lengths of grass, okay? You don't need a static grass applicator, by the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. And you can use it for trees and bushes. And the static grass plays different elements in each of those subjects, as I have demonstrated comprehensively in all my content on Boomer Diorama. Like if you were to go to videos in the search bar in the middle of the page, not the top one, but in the middle beside posts, you can just open that up and put a keyword search there, and all the videos that come up that pertain to that subject or that keyword that you type in. So before I show you this, I want to talk to you a little bit just about the size and the colors, okay? Okay, so the sizes of static grass, and Woodland Scenics is not the only one that puts out this. I think Nock and Hecky and other manufacturers put out static grass. So it really doesn't matter because, like, unless you're specific about certain colors, like stock default colors that you're just going to live with. I love static grass because the best way to shift it or to unify, the colors of it after you've applied it is with an airbrush, in the same way that you would airbrush terrain or model kits or whatever. You can get in there with super thin. I like to use like 5 to 10% color and 90% isopropyl alcohol with Tamiya acrylics on my airbrush, and just get in there and I can just shift colors to any color I want. So I don't worry too much about the color, even though I think about it when I apply it. So the basic colors are the straw and the green, and you'll get like just straw. And you might want to watch out for this though, because sometimes it's really yellow. So when you're going through the rack, I tend to always check it and cherry pick like the really nice straw. Like I like that color. I have bags that are very yellow, and I almost always have to airbrush it after it's applied, where sometimes you don't have to with this. Okay. So here's some of the green, like this is medium green, and this is 7mm. So the sizes range from like 2mm, 4mm, 7mm. I think they make 10, some do, and 12mm are basically, like that's the range. So you can vary the range, or you can also trim it later. Like once it's down, I like to trim with scissors as well. These are fly tying scissors, by the way, and they're great for trimming static grass. I just got these from a fly fishing shop. These are Griffin, I think. Are they Griffin? Yeah, they are. And they're very good if you use them just for that. Okay, so that's just the size. So 2 to 12mm and a little bit in between. And then your colors are going to vary. And right now, like as you'll see here, like these are just the stock colors that I've put on this diorama so far. Now, I want to mention at this stage one more thing about application, okay? Okay, so I just want to talk to you about application, which is not complicated. really, like once you practice a little bit. So first of all, you do not need a static grass applicator, you know, to apply grass. Static applicators are great for like model railroad, like footprints, like large expanses, large areas that you want to, you know, lay in a lot of field grass and so on. Then a static grass applicator is your friend. But when you're building dioramas like this, you really don't need one. And one of the advantages of not using one is you have total control over the fidelity of your grass tufts. I have shown on my channel, again, if you use the search bar, you just type grass tufts, you'll see how you can make like thousands of grass tufts easy with an applicator on parchment paper and matte medium. However, I want to show you this technique, pinch and stab. I've shown it before. I'll just briefly touch on it before I close here, okay? Which is how I did all of this. However, this is the super fine turf, which I just use like a brush. Like I'll show you my favorite brush for doing this sort of scale and grass tufts is right here for applying matte medium. This fan brush, see that? So I love it because I can just sort of stab lines in. Like, see the lines I've stabbed in here? Now the reason why I did that is because it just leaves a pattern for me to work with. It just helps inspire me and helps cultivate randomness, you know, which I've emphasized before that I think is important when you're doing terrain. Like randomness doesn't come naturally to any of us. We just want to be symmetrical. Like every time we lay something in, like, see the grass there? See I'll be trimming that and painting that, but you can see there's a bit of randomness there. So that's why I do that, because you've always got to force your hand to be random. And that's the key, I think, to really cool composition and when it comes to textures and colors and so on. Okay, so I use matte medium, as you know, because I think it's the best for this, okay? So you can use whatever you want, but I've talked about this enough, okay? Now I want to show you what I do. So what I generally do is I do a small area and I take the straight matte medium or a little bit diluted and I just stab in a bit onto the ground. I always find that if you do the very like 2 mil or 4 mil, sprinkle it on, and then I use a vacuum to just suck it up and stand it up. Or I'll take the whole diorama and turn it upside down, like almost right after I've sprinkled the static grass onto the glue, and it stands up on its own really well. Now here's the one technique that I want to show you just in closing here. So I call this pinch and stab. It's a technique I developed over years of doing scenery work. So I just grab like from a bundle like this, okay? I just pinch off, like I grab some like this, okay? I pinch like that, drop that, and I put my thumb and forefinger over my thumb and forefinger here. See that? Like just try that with your two hands together. There it is. Then pinch with my right hand here. Okay, and then let go with this one. Just get a good pinch and then pull. And then pull with this one. Like just keep doing that and you'll adjust the size of the actual tuft. You see that there now? See the bottom? But it's not flat, is it? You can trim that if you want. You can, like once you got your size, you can trim this like this, so that you get even like glue points. But I find you don't really have to, but if you want to, you can. But I find that when you already have short grass down, like there's a couple of layers here, that once you put the matte medium down, which will dry matte and transparent, so you don't have to worry if it's blobbed on, is I just pinch and then stab it in like this, and then just, it'll grab right away the matte medium, and you can just adjust it with your finger. And excuse me, don't worry if you mess up at first. It just takes a little bit of practice, and then muscle memory begins to take over. But you can see how that already sticks without any glue, right? See that? Like there's no glue there. See how it's already sticking? So the static does help it stick, but the glue will make sure it sticks. And then once it's dry, you can just massage it or comb it out. I just pull it out and trim it up, and there you go. So if you treat this, if you take your time and sort of treat it like paint or another texture, you can really achieve stunning results on your diorama, your model railroad or vignette or whatever, okay? So cheers, happy modeling, and I hope that you have a great day.